Alright guys, so now let's finish off with talking about some trade barriers. Basically, we are able to trade with countries and people, but we do have some times where governments kind of step in and say, hey, we need to put a limit on this trade. One of them would be a tariff. A tariff is a tax that governments place on imported goods. So when you are trading with different countries, they have to come into the country, like through a port. When they enter through the port, the government's going to know about it. And so they're going to put a tax on it. Like, thank you very much. Here is a tax for trading with us. And that would be a tariff. Now, just like taxes in general, some people are like, oh, we don't want a tax on this. And that's good. And there's also arguments for the tariff. Because when we do have tariffs and taxes, what happens to the quantity? When taxes go up, you buy less things, so quantity will go down. So basically, this is going to protect domestic jobs because if there is a tax on imports, you're more likely to buy less imports because it's more expensive. If you're buying less imports, you're buying more domestic goods. So if you're buying more domestic goods, this means that you're going to need to buy from a domestic firm, and if they're needing to make more things, this is going to increase the amount of labor they need, so they need domestic jobs. This is going to give domestic industries an equal opportunity. So some countries are just able to do things a lot faster, more efficient, cheaper. And so that could be anything from their geography, it could be from their laws in certain countries. So sometimes our domestic countries are thinking like, well, that is not fair. Because you're able to do it cheaper just because of who you are, that's not an equal opportunity. So a tariff is going to basically say like, hey, let's decrease the imports, let's increase the price of them so we can have an equal opportunity. Another one is provide enough time for infant industries to develop. This is again just another advantage of having an equal opportunity. So basically, you could buy from an import standpoint, you might be able to buy from a newer domestic industry. This is also going to prevent the domestic economy and security from deepening too heavily on foreign nations. So the thing here is that if you're always buying from Mexico, and then all of a sudden Mexico has terrible economy, terrible wars going on to where you can't buy from Mexico anymore, you don't know what to do anymore, right? Like you used to buy everything from Mexico and now you can't. So what do you do now? So that is a thing with tariffs, is that if we did have a tax, it's going to decrease imports to where you still have to do things domestically. And if you could do things domestically, then you're kind of protected against other countries' issues. Last one is going to reduce instances of dumping. So basically, this is where a foreign country just puts a lot of supply into the market. And when there's a lot of supply in the market, price really goes down, and it's really hard to compete at those low prices. So a tariff is really going to help out during these instances. Traditionally, tariffs were used simply as a political tool to protect certain vested economic, social, and cultural interests. So basically, a tariff was just like, hey, we want to decrease the amount of trading going on here. We need to focus more on our country. The World Trade Organization is committed to lowering barriers to trade because, again, the gains from trade that we just saw, that's what we want. The world's nations meet through the World Trade Organization to negotiate how they can reduce trade barriers to trade, such as tariffs. So basically, yeah, we see that you want to protect domestic jobs. Okay, how can we do that, and how can we gain from trading? How can we do both? That'd be great. So they do meet, and they go back and forth about trying to figure out what is better for both countries. The last trade barrier that we do have are called import quotas. So basically, this is like, hey, we can only have this many imports come in. This is a maximum amount of a good that can be imported into the domestic country. Anything beyond this, no. We can only bring in this amount of goods. To be effective, the quota must be less than the amount of imports that the country would have brought in under free trade. that makes sense. If you usually bring in 1,000 cars and you want to decrease imports, you got to put a quota of less than 1,000 cars. That just makes sense. Some foreign firms will be blocked from the domestic market. So basically, you can only bring in this amount. So if a foreign firm wants to come in, they can't, because you only are bringing in this much. And the foreign firms that remain will be able to sell at a higher price, thereby increasing their profit. So basically what happens here is if you get into the quota, like you're like, okay, I'm selling this quantity in the United States. Now, you could sell it at a price that you want to sell it at, because now you're into the U.S. market. All right? You don't have to compete with other foreign firms. You're in. So you could sell at a different price if you wanted to. So those are the two main types of trade barriers that we do have. A tariff is a tax, tariff, tax on imports. And a quota is a limit on quantity. Quota, quantity, QQ. All right? So those are the things that are going to be impeding the free trade. Free trade is obvious. Just like trading for free, no issues. You're going to have the gains from trade, all those. But tariffs and tax on imports, quota, limits on the quantity, those are trade barriers. I'll see you in the next video.